Good evening, my friends, and welcome to a very special and very short notice recording, almost live stream with three of my good friends from the medical doctors for COVID ethics, who I met with Charles and Stephen on on their bi-weekly stream. Daisy Papp, Anna Garner and Joseph Molitorisz, who are directly connected to the Reiner Füllmich case, which was finished today. Predominantly, will finish maybe if there is no what is Einspruch, my friends, in English.
Appeal.
If they don't appeal it, if he does not appeal the case, and I do think that he will be appealing the case. So Reiner Füllmich was arrested under suspicious circumstances in Mexico, in Tijuana, I believe it was, and deported by the German government from Tijuana to Germany. I'm not sure if if it was a non-stop flight or not. There are rumors that we haven't gotten into. Maybe you can tell me about that later. And he was taken from Frankfurt out of the plane by the German authorities, imprisoned in Göttingen, and has been in jail ever since. It has been over 18 months. It has been a kangaroo trial. As you know, I was in Geneva for the demonstration in front of the UNHCR with some other friends, and reported directly there, live from there, and have spoken about this on multiple occasions on locals, on the Duran, on locals. And because the Reiner was convicted today for 3 years and 9 months, of which 13 months, according to my calculations, I believe are going to be added or subtracted from the sentence. I do not know if it's going to be on probation, as it is his first offense, legally speaking, if he will be released from jail or not. But this is, as I said, a kangaroo court. It has been a trial. He has been subjected to torture in this German, of all places, in this German incarceration. And to explain the whole case a little bit more in detail, I have three experts and friends of Reiner Füllmich who would like to just explain a little bit more in detail, and I'll just try and chip in and ask some questions. So Daisy, pardon me, you contacted me for this whole to get this rolling. I've been in contact with you by email for a couple of weeks now, and due to work we haven't been able to get together. But today was the day. Let's just jump right in. Tell me how you got connected to this whole Reiner Füllmich case, please.
Thank you very much, Sebastian, for your wonderful invitation. And thank you, Anna, and thank you, Joseph, for making the time. This is very spontaneous. And I, like millions in this world, I was very curious what is going on and why is it going on, what happened during the microbe crisis in 2020. And ongoing from there. And I noticed Zuharit Bhakti, who is a wonderful professor for Joseph, help me.
Immunology.
Yes, that's it. Thank you. That's yes, for virology, and he's world renowned, and he had an open letter to the back then German Chancellor Angela Merkel. And then I realized, oh, wow, so some other people see that this is just not a good response, how they handle the news that there's a microbe crisis. And then in July, I immediately saw that Reiner Füllmich was outstanding. They started the Corona Investigative Committee, and it was very visible for me that Reiner is the head and Reiner is the horse pulling that and bringing this into the light. I admit I'm trained in observing people's behavior, and I can read much through that. And in 2021, I was so amazed and filled with the praise for Reiner's work and all that he revealed and brought into the light for the world and internationally with experts from around the world. And I wanted to say thank you. So what I did, I drew portraits and I sent them, I packed them up beautifully and safely, and I sent them to Berlin, where the Corona Investigative Committee was recorded. And interestingly, there was only one human who contacted me and said thank you, and that was Reiner Füllmich. And that was the beautiful beginning for a really trusting and trustworthy friendship. And ever since, I'm writing maybe the last 4 weeks, I did not write 2 letters for Reiner since he's in Germany, but only 1. But all the other weeks, at least 2, sometimes 3 letters I write to him via mail. And I'm in daily contact with Inka. We are dear friends.
Very nice. Anna, would you like to explain your connection to Reiner?
Certainly,
And
and
how
thank you
you
for
got
having
to
us on. Thank you for having us on.
Thank you
I'm an
for
attorney,
coming.
and I was called to get involved in this exposing the deception that was going on around COVID. And there aren't many of us in America who were doing this kind of work. And I was looking around, and I ended up being one of the early people to file suits against the governor and the health secretary. And I also filed some suits against Biden and the HHS secretary in federal court. And that was done in Ohio. I had co-counseled with Tom Renz. And I guess after I filed my first suit, Reiner, and I think it could have even been before that I was in touch with Reiner, because I do remember incorporating the questions that he was asking at the time, the 3 most important questions, and Tom had incorporated it into his complaint, and I also put it into mine, but I think we got it from Reiner. But eventually we became very good colleagues, and then I worked with him on the grand jury enactment that we had with a group of international attorneys, and that was involving getting testimony from experts from all over the world, which was very exciting. We had over 1 million live viewers. It was quite well attended. It's surprising. I mean, we were surprised how much attendance we had. So I also was invited to speak at the Phoenix conference of the Crimes Against Humanity tour that Reiner was doing with Judy Mikovits and Richard Fleming and Patrick Wood. And so that was exciting. I lived in New Mexico at the time, and it was in Arizona. So I said, yes, I totally will speak. Yes, that's great. So I actually got to have dinners with Reiner and lunch with Reiner. There was about a 3-day period of time that he was there and I was there. And so we visited frequently. And it was really a pleasure to get to know him. And we have continued being friends. I consider him a good friend, a good person, an amazing leader. And so I've watched his trial with great interest. And the closest attorneys in the international group to him were Dexter I'm going to mispronounce his name, Reinfeldt, I think is how you say it, from South Africa. Virginie Araujo de Recchio, probably mispronounced her name too, from France, Paris, France. We had an Eastern Indian, Dipali Ojha, and Tony Nikolic from Australia. So we were the what I would call the people who continued wanting to work with Reiner throughout the last few years. So we were quite dismayed when we heard about his illegal arrest and imprisonment, and we've been doing everything we knew what to do, and it's not a lot because I don't know the German system, but we've been doing everything we can and writing him and trying to raise awareness of the plight that he's in. So thank you for giving us this opportunity to let people know what's going on.
I'm the one who has to thank you all because you've been doing this you've been part of this for so long, and you've been working for and with Reiner to get him out and make this aware. Joseph, what is your connection to Reiner's case? If you'd like to elaborate a little.
I came a little bit later to this. I came as a result of, first of all, seeing Reiner in his first presentation that he made on YouTube, where he announced that he was going to do an inquiry into COVID. And I saw that presentation, which was both in German and in English. And I was very impressed by the way that he articulated what he intended to do. And I took it that he was a person of high moral standards and great character, which got me interested in following this. Fortuitously, later on, I was introduced to Reiner through Anna. Anna was the one who brought me into contact with, yes, you,
Yeah.
who brought me into contact with Reiner. And Reiner took me on almost immediately as a co-host for his ICIC podcasts. And not only did he take me on, but together with another colleague of ours, Paul Gillard, the three of us formulated and brainstormed about who the people would be that we would interview and the topics that we would be interviewing about. So I was involved in some 20 maybe interviews where I was co-hosting with Reiner, and we interviewed people from Mike Yeadon to all kinds of famous and prominent advocates for enlightenment, not only about COVID, but also about other matters. And then one day I was shocked to find out that he had been arrested and taken back to Germany. And ever since then, I've been following his travails, and I've engaged in writing commentaries and writing opinion pieces about his plight, because like Aina, I am fluent in both English and German. I feel a kinship with him as a consequence of not only his intellectual, power, but also his integrity. And I find him to be an upstanding human being who deserves much better than what he's been exposed to over the last year and a half. And I wish that we could be going back to the interviewing that we had done that was so rudely interrupted and so maliciously interrupted by the authorities.
So I'm going to read something here that I actually just posted on Locals, and because it's a short statement to Reiner Füllmich's case, because I followed Reiner. My connection to him is actually very, very indirect. When 2020 happened, when he started the COVID Investigative Committee in German, it was the Corona Ausschuss I was listening to it at work, and it was every Friday, and it went on for hours, and I was literally always there and listening in. And then it turned to English, and I was actually posting this and connecting the CIC to the Duran, to our participants and our subscribers, so they could listen in, because there was a lot of information coming out via the doctors, and we had legal professionals there, we had medical professionals there, or you had medical professionals there, and you were literally giving substantial information as to what this was. People were talking about it, and because he was banned, because the CIC was banned from YouTube, they actually went onto Odyssey and onto I think BitChute, it was another one, Rumble. It was only YouTube that banned them, and YouTube, of course, being the largest video platform, streaming platform, that was very, very, it was almost immediately obvious that something was happening here, that I'll just call it the powers that be, did not want us to hear, did not want us to know. And seeing that Reiner was also is a lawyer, or well, I don't know if he's been disbarred or not, but he was a German lawyer, and I think, Anna, you correct me, he is actually a lawyer in the United States, in California. He was a
Yes.
lawyer there, and so this is what I wrote today. Around 1900 Central European time, Dr. Reiner Füllmich, a German and American lawyer, was convicted of embezzlement in a criminal court and sentenced to 3 years and 9 months. 13 months are being subtracted from the sentencing, as he has been incarcerated for well over 18 months. The case throws a dark shadow on the German legal system, as it was not subject to criminal but civil court, which leads to question why this was permitted. According to multiple legal pundits and lawyers, this is an overreach by the judicial system. Reiner Fuellmich was a highly profiled lawyer who has won significant court cases against Deutsche Bank and VW, and was seen as a threat to the authoritative powers in Germany, in the German government, when he founded the Corona Investigative Committee back in 2020. Questioning the forceful and partially illegal lockdowns and imprisonment of dissidents across the nation, which also questions the narrative with multiple legal and medical experts from around the globe. So this is why I started getting into the CIC. I mean, I'll say people who are not blinded by the story of what happened, what the narrative was. I got into it and I wanted to support him, and then we got locked down also here in Switzerland, even where I do live, and I never got around to doing what I wanted to do. We weren't allowed to speak about it on YouTube because our channel was literally being monitored by the powers that be. However, when he was arrested over 18 months ago is when I got aware again and started doing some research. And then I started listening to Charles and Stephen Frost from the Medical Doctors for COVID Ethics, invited me back into the round. I did not know that they had actually started this, but I did know them from before. Strangely, and coincidence as the world goes. And this is when, we recently spoke about him. We had, I think his name is Sid, on the COVID investigative, on the Medical Doctors. And I got in contact with Sid, actually, did an interview on Locals with him also. And he was very, very outspoken because of what happened to him, which I'm not going to get into right now. But this whole thing has come to a head. Then, of course, the demonstration in Geneva, which I did participate on, and I also took a friend of mine who is also a journalist to Geneva with me. He didn't even know that was happening. I said, we have to make this public. I met Peter Koenig there. I also met, oh gosh, I'm gonna bastardize her name now also, even though it's German. Astrid Stuckelberger. Exactly. And we had some talks. It was a very, very cool day, and I got really involved into this whole thing, and I've been following the process and trying to interview folks. Now, today you wrote to me, Daisy, that today was the day where everything was coming to a head, and or tomorrow. It was supposed to be tomorrow, but it actually happened today that we did get the conviction, the sentencing, also simultaneously. I believe personally that this is a kangaroo court, and I think you all three agree with me on this, that this was a show process to get Reiner out of the focus, out of the limelight, the global press. And sadly, it has a very nasty, bitter aftertaste of Julian Assange. The same thing happened to him. But Julian, of course, being with WikiLeaks, etc., was a global figure. Reiner never got that kind of limelight, but he was still very uncomfortable because of the lawyer he is and what he has done and achieved. And of course, with the grand, jury, he was creating a new system, a new jurisdictional system, which is actually allowed by multiple laws worldwide. He was forming the grand jury, the ICIC, which is, is a criminal investigative committee right there also. So today with this sentencing, it is necessary to really explain how we can, how we as a people, and this is what I'd like to hear from you, how we as a people can, support him. How can we form demonstrations, who to write to? Because I'm sure, Anna, being in the United States, you will also have people watching from the United States. And we have a lot of members and subscribers in locals from the United States, actually, that they can write to their congressmen and, they can fight for him. There are some good politicians out there that will still stand up for the people. So would you like to explain from your point of view, from each and everyone's point of view, how can we assist Reiner now? How can this case be toppled? I mean, can it be appealed or not? And how can we further get the government or the judicial system to retract this sentencing? Let's start off with Daisy, if you'd like.
Well, I speak human language, and Anna is the one who is really the professional when it comes to legal language. What I think what we now all can do is really support for Reiner's health and for Reiner's freedom and for Reiner's wife Inka's health. This is, diplomatically put, a not good situation. And Reiner needs help. There are, as far as I know, there's the possibility in German legal system to appeal, and these are not inexpensive lawyers and attorneys who are sending bills, and there is no funds. So please, there are many possibilities how you can support Reiner and Inka. There's one way where you can do that for the European people. They can go to the ICIC.LAW website, and they can find a way how they can support Reiner there. And here in the US and internationally, I have a foundation, and with Inka, we created a special way how Reiner and Inka can be supported with my foundation. And the best is you go to daisypapp.com, and we have a page there for Reiner, and on the homepage you immediately see Reiner and Inka together for each other. And Inka and I, we also brought into the world a beautiful initiative, which is Together for Each Other, where we learn together with attendees that words matter, and that we are very powerful beings, and we inspire people to come and join us. Inka is there, and I am there, and we do that with an absolute filled heart with love for humanity. And please come and help, because, for example, the workshops Inka and I, we conduct, that all proceeds support for Reiner's freedom and for Inka's health. So please help. Thank you.
I will have that information posted in the link down below when I put this up. So definitely. And at this point, I would also like to invite all viewers and subscribers to look into these websites. We are talking about a decent human being who was fighting for humanity. And at this point, I have to mention that it is time for someone who was standing up and fighting for us back in the days when we did not have the power. It's now time for us to stand up and show appreciation by working, standing up and fighting for Reiner Füllmich, and letting him and his family know that they're not alone. Mm-hmm. Anna, from a point of view from the United States and from a legal point of view, is there any way that we can help in the United States to get his case more profile, give it more visibility?
Well, I think you're doing that right now. So absolutely, get as many videos out as possible. There are several people who are writing on Substack, writing articles. Joseph has written some articles. There's some excellent articles. Elsa, is her last name from Joseph? Elsa
Schröder.
Schneider?
No, Schieder. Shida.
Okay.
Shida.
Also
And I think her website is called Truth Summit. And she's been posting a lot of information about the trial with details and how many days it took, how long each session would take. They typically would put him in the court on Friday afternoon or Friday because it was only a half-day session. And that's why it dragged on for this 18 months or so. And I don't even think they started it until about January. He was incarcerated in October. And I think the trial, as I recall, started around January. But it's difficult to say whether anyone can do anything unless there's some sort of subtle political pressure perhaps put on some government authorities in Germany just to maintain good relations with America. If we have that, I don't know who we're friends with anymore or who we're enemies with. It's all a big mess to me and confusing. But at any rate, there may be some representatives at the federal level who have connections to Germany through ancestry or something else that may be able to raise awareness. But, what I want people to know is that if this attorney, this powerful, intelligent, well-meaning attorney could be arrested on frivolous charges and incarcerated, and it was the lawsuit was a civil lawsuit. That's the whole thing. This should never have been a criminal case. And if that can happen to him, that can happen to anyone, absolutely anyone. And so we can support him by certainly praying for him, writing him letters to keep his spirits high, which he's maintained amazingly well, despite the abuse. And if we have anyone that we know personally who's at some high government level, yes, reach out to them. And even if you don't know them, but they're your particular representative, go ahead and write them. It wouldn't hurt. And the more people that get letters and the more letters that they get, I think can make a difference. So I don't really know what they can do, but there's so many things happening behind the curtain, and maybe something can happen behind the curtain, but we need divine intervention as well. And I know Reiner well enough to know what a fighter he is and that he's not about to let this rest. He will appeal. So we're going to need, I'm not involved in his appeal, but I'm saying as a group of attorneys who consult with his attorneys, they're going to need substantial funding to do the appeal. And we've got to do that. If the higher court is looking at this the way they should be, they've got to reverse it. They've got to reverse it. There's so many errors that have been made, including not keeping a record. They're supposed to have a stenographic record of everything that is said in the courtroom. If it's not a stenographic record, it needs to be a recording. And that's really essential for appeals. The appeals court doesn't restart the trial all over. You don't bring your evidence to the appeal court. You bring the record to the appeal court. And the appeal court goes through the record in great detail to see where errors were. Well, the attorneys have to point it out, but that's the evidence of where the mistakes occurred that should be overturned. And there were many, many throughout the trial. Not only the lack of the recording, but also the deprivation of his human rights. He was shackled like an animal to go into court. And that was so distressing. And because of the shackles on him, he declined to be able to visit his mother on her dying deathbed because he didn't want to distress his mother seeing him like that. And that was the only way he would be allowed to see her. Similarly, on his birthday, there was a large group of people outside the jail showing love and support for Reiner. A happy birthday, we love you, and carrying signs and singing songs. And the prison authorities put him in another place where he could not hear them or see them or derive any sort of pleasure from knowing about the support. So they basically put a wall between his supporters and him. And it's been like that. The torture has gone on even further than that. They once had this raving lunatic who would scream all night, very mentally disturbed man, screaming all night to where Reiner was sleep deprived. And when he would go into court, he would look very, very drawn and, pale and not good. So that went on for several weeks before they finally moved that man. But he's been in solitary confinement for what? He is a peaceful man. He did not get into fights there. In fact, the prisoners actually liked him and wanted him to help them with their legal issues. So he had made friends there, and he was respected even in the prison. The prisoners didn't abuse him. It was done by the prison system. So, his number of calls that he could have with his wife, the type of calls he could have, it very limited. So he was shut off from the outside world to a huge degree. He still read his letters that he got. He still responded to a lot of them. He responded to most of mine, and I think he didn't get one of them because I must have said something that they didn't like, but I don't believe he got it. But it's been an ordeal for him, a real ordeal. I can't even imagine. One of the things he said early on is the prison food is terrible, and this is a man who's used to eating in nice restaurants, and the food and he lost a lot of weight. It's been terrible for him to be subjected to that level of bad nutrition. But he's doing everything he can to stay strong and stay mentally strong, stay physically strong, and keep pouring the love and support out for him. And monetary donations are really, really needed right now. If everybody just gave, $5 or $10, just something that's even a small amount, but a lot of us contributed, that would help tremendously with what's going on, and would help just support that family, the Fuellmich family.
Well, if we can, we can also post a link to an account, for his support also in the description box down below, because I do know that the German legal system is not cheap. Actually, no legal system is cheap anywhere in the world, at least in the Western Hemisphere. So I do understand that this is going to be a tremendous strain. I understand that he was also he had to sell his house to be able to pay legal fees, as well as pay back the amount that they allege that he stole or took away or embezzled, whatever.
I do want to correct you. He sold the house long before the legal problems occurred, and that was to pay back on the loan that the company took out. They did that for a reason, and they were trying to safeguard the money that was donated, and that was done with agreement of Viviane Fischer, who was his co-host on all of these interviews. And so when he sold the house, the funds apparently were diverted, and illegally diverted, we would claim, and he claims. So he not only doesn't have the funds from the house, he can't give the funds back to repay the debt, and they're calling it embezzlement. It wasn't embezzled. It was a clear contract with the parties, and everyone knew about it. It was totally on the up and up, and it was legal. So this was all a manufactured case, and that just reminds me a little bit of what happened to President Trump in a lot of the cases that were brought against him. No evidence. It was just a vendetta, and right. And so that's really what it's boiled down to. Yes, a kangaroo court, and we've got a lot of those popping up all over the place.
If I understand also correctly, he was put in a maximum security prison in Göttingen. Is that correct? I mean,
that's what we understand.
For a lawyer, I mean, this was a man of law. He fought for the legal system. He fought, for justice, and they put him in a max security prison. Joseph, tell me, try and give me a little bit more information, if you might, about if you know anything about the stages when he left Germany and wanted to create something in the United States. Maybe the two of you can talk about that, and how he had to go to Mexico, why he had to go to Mexico. Maybe you can elaborate a little bit on that.
I can't. I don't know. I don't have that information. I was never close to those kinds of events. My connection with Reiner has always been on an intellectual level. And anything that I can contribute to the continuation of his spirit is not in the legal realm. It is exclusively in the realm of trying to keep his spirit alive and his message moving forward. And so my take on the whole thing is that Reiner Füellmich is one of the great personalities of our time because of the breadth and the depth of his intellect and his moral fiber. And anything that any of us can do to keep that momentum going is going to keep his spirit alive. I've tried with my own writings, the commentaries that I do, and so on, as a mediator between German and American culture, or German and national culture. I have tried to, in my own small way, to keep the way that he thinks in the public eye as much as possible. And I know how he thinks because he and I spent a lot of time, though not in person in the same room, we spent a lot of time together exchanging ideas, exchanging concepts, exchanging views about various topics that were current at the time. So, to my mind, the best that someone like myself can do is to help Reiner continue his work. And I look forward to any opportunity that might come my way to do that. Writing is my preferred way of doing it. I'm not good at interviews, really. I'm good at asking questions, but I'm not good at being interviewed. And so if I had the opportunity to really engage with people of high intellect and high moral standing, then I would gladly do that in order to advance Reiner's cause. But as a practical matter, I don't know what to do. I'm completely lost in terms of what to practically do to help him. These ladies are much more astute at that sort of thing. As to your question about how he came to be arrested, abducted, and so on, I can only say that I can clarify that he was taken from Tijuana to Mexico City and flown from Mexico City to Frankfurt, where he was arrested. He did not set foot in the United States. He's not an American citizen. He only has a working permit in America. And so any expectations that we might have had that some American authorities might step in and help him out, I think have been dashed. Ever since the Trump administration has come into power, I see absolutely no effort on their part to help. And I find it distressing, but not surprising, because Reiner Füellmich is a man of character, and I'm not sure that the people who are in charge in America are people of character at all, including the ones that we were rooting for as this election came to a head. And the secretaries that were appointed, we all cheerleaded for them. They came into power, and since then we've heard nothing from them that would indicate that they're going to help Reiner Füellmich at all.
I know who you mean. I know exactly who you're speaking of. And after the interview, maybe I'll have a couple of suggestions on that, because I do think there is still a way that we can get some folks involved in this. So Anna, back to you. There were rumors, and just to clarify, because we've been in another chat room together, in another interview together, or with the medical doctors. The rumor was that he was actually taken from Mexico City, and that he did land and in Arizona, and Joseph just made that very clear that that did not happen, because if it had happened, of course, the American government would be implicit in this whole thing, which they're not, as it seems. So this is just to clarify that he did not land in the United States. This is correct?
Yes.
I don't know anything about that. I know he was tricked into coming to the airport to get the visas that they needed, which had expired. And the German embassy told them to meet them at the airport. They didn't have to go to the embassy. And when he deplaned, when he and Inca deplaned, they were met by the Mexican federales that were fully armed and immediately took their phones and everything. But everybody thinks it's a big deal. They think that the plane landed in America and it must mean something. But if the plane did, even if it did land in America, it was probably because it was a connecting flight and landed in America. So, but I never heard anything about that. My understanding was he was flown from Mexico straight to Frankfurt, and
Okay.
that's what I had heard from people who knew early on. So, but everybody's trying to find some conspiracy theory with the U.S., but the U.S. I don't think had any threat with Reiner, because Reiner was more of a threat to the German government than he was to the American government. And he was he was a worldwide threat, if anything, because he was waking up people from all over the world. So it's not like, there might have been governments who didn't like what he had to say because he was disabusing the official narrative. But Reiner's been consistent all along and had the proof in it to show, because of the experts who knew about it, the doctors, the attorneys, he knew that something was amiss, and it was a plandemic. So and he made it his mission to get that out, and I applaud him for it, because he was very enthusiastic about making sure that mission got accomplished, and it did, and it had a large review, a large viewing, I should say, a large audio. I don't know if he was actually doing video. I think he was doing video. I remember seeing some of those earlier. So, but people watched it. They were interested, and they liked what these people had to say, and they liked what Reiner had to say, and his questioning was so good. So it remained good, and it was good when he was working with Joseph, and that was wonderful. And Joseph was asking questions as well of the various, top level people that they were interviewing, authors, distinguished people from all over the world. So we've got to get Reiner back out there, because he has a mission, and his mission is to help this world evolve and wake up. And he's unique, and we need to have him. We need to have his voice once again.
If I can circle back to, yeah, sure, please, Joseph.
I just wanted to add that there is speculation. You can't verify these things. There's speculation that the whole initiative to get Reiner was a local affair within Lower Saxony, where he had spectacular successes in terms of prosecuting Volkswagen, which is located in Wolfsburg in Lower Saxony, and also Deutsche Bank, and that the whole origin of his problems stems from the fact that he was so successful in prosecuting them, and now it was payback time. That the local authorities in Lower Saxony were the ones who initiated all this. And then you get the global kind of perspective on it, that getting him had something to do with the vast topics that he was exploring, and that he was delving deeply into, that were making people feel very uncomfortable. And so it's hard to know exactly what it is that touched off the whole thing. You can only speculate about it, but clearly, because of the reach of his mind and his intellect, that he went against all the conventional wisdom, and he was a fighter against the kind of authoritarianism that was taking hold not only in Germany, but also throughout the Western world. He was advocating for a kind of freedom that he had experienced when he was growing up. When he was a teenager, he came to the United States and he experienced the kind of freedom that he had dreamed of. A freedom that meant that you could make your own decisions, that you could lead your own life. He was an avid motorcyclist. He loved riding motorcycles all over the United States. He loved American culture. Every time he released from prison a statement, he would always talk about American music and the 60s and the 70s and how they influenced him. And this was what drove him. He was very much an Americanophile. He was so enthusiastic about everything American that he was almost more American than he was German. And that's what attracted him to coming to the United States later on in life, also and practicing law in California, because he believed in the American system. He was very skeptical about what was going on in Germany. I don't think that he had any long-term plans for wanting to stay there in Germany. And especially during the COVID era, he was well aware of the kind of entrapments that would imply staying in Germany. Everybody knew what was going on in Germany. Everybody knew what was going on in Austria as well. So his drive, his ambition was always to be a bridge between European and American culture, highlighting American culture where you have individual freedom, human rights. These are respected. There's a long tradition in America of First Amendment rights, the Constitution, and so on, which he greatly admired. That's why he studied law and practiced law in the United States. So I would say that Reiner was the perfect bicontinental kind of representative for Enlightenment thinking, because he was deeply steeped in European culture, especially German Enlightenment, and he was deeply steeped in American individualism, which was equally attractive to him. And he lived this balanced life between these two worlds. He didn't see them as opposites. He didn't see them as being somehow irreconcilable with each other. He wanted desperately to bring these worlds together.
He wanted the best of both worlds.
For all
which
of
is
us.
pretty much what everyone, you know, who has grown up in different nations tries to achieve. I mean, I've done the same thing. I've taken the best out of all the nations that I've lived in and tried to bring them together, tried to understand, to integrate, and, you know, be a part of society and be the best part of society that you can be. And we could see that because he was not, I wouldn't call him, from what I saw, and I don't know him as personally as you do, but from what we outsiders perceived of him, he was not a German, he was not American, he was a human being trying to fight for human beings. And this is probably what, as you said, you know, he was fighting against the German establishment. I mean, he stepped on some very, very large feet or toes. And I remember that there was also a discussion and a rumor of that they had some email that was written that den kriegen wir, so we're going to get him. I don't know if you can talk about that, if that is true or not. You know, these people were actually out and targeting him. Is that correct, Daisy? Joseph? Do you know anything about this?
Well, there are many rumors or not truths. there are documents that one of the defense attorneys, Christophe Mézeret, he was handed from some whistleblower, and there it clearly shows that it is to be constructed any case anyhow to, well, to take Reiner's freedom.
Bring him down.
Oh, you're referring to the dossier,
Yes.
right? Yes, that was evidence that they were out to get him. Yes.
Yeah, and that was not used in this court case, or could not be used in this court case as evidence.
I thought Mr. Mézeret, his attorney, actually did introduce it or attempted to. I don't remember if they admitted it into evidence or not.
Okay.
They denied a lot of evidence that Reiner's attorneys put forth and testimony. And at some point, Viviane Fischer's testimony was incriminating, and she then later wanted to recant it because it was not true. She was somehow persuaded, forced, or under duress when she gave the testimony. And so that leads to a lot of other speculation that I don't even want to go into. But later she tried to recant it, and the court would not allow it. So there were instances like that where the court was very biased, and it was clearly evident when his attorneys tried to introduce evidence or introduce witnesses that would contradict prior witnesses' testimony.
You also said, mentioned a while ago, that the recordings or the stenograph was not implemented in certain parts of the case. Did I understand that correctly?
We don't think it was recorded anywhere. Reiner had told us that in one of his statements that was released, that there was no recording made, and that's required by German law. Yes, so that's pretty significant.
If I remember correctly, it was in May of 2024 where the judge ordered Selbstleseverfahren. Now, I don't know how to translate that into English. It is
what was that word?
Selbstleseverfahren. That means that the judges and the Schöffen in the court, that they have to read the documentations, so it is not spoken out loud. That means that the public who were attending the court sessions, they did not know what was discussed, because they were not, the defense was not allowed to continue speaking, but everything was requested in writing. Now, I can envision, I'm a writer myself, it is it's very time consuming when the attorneys had to file everything in writing, and there was no verbal court case in this scenario, or court session. I'd like to refer to Rechtsanwalt Hinger. He's a Bavarian attorney, and if I remember correctly, like 10 days prior, he recorded a video where he makes a very clear statement regarding the case with Reiner Füllmich. And he said he never in 50 years being an attorney heard of a case that there's a case of embezzlement where the money was there. Because the money, the 700,000 euros that is in the court discussed and now called as if it was not truthful use, from Reiner's point of view, or what he did. But the money is there. The money from the sales from his house was sent to the people who wrote the Strafanzeige, the indictment, the complaint. Yeah, yes, the complaint. I speak humanese. Okay. So, but this man then in this interview, he really very, very realistically, calmly, professionally speaks for like 10 minutes, and he just puts that entire case into this 10-minute statement. He knows Reiner from times where Reiner was succeeding with Deutsche Bank, so that, or with the courts, that Deutsche Bank, it was the spotlight shown that they did not right things, and that was not good what they did, the Deutsche Bank. And so the man knows Reiner personally, and he said something like that, that there's an embezzlement case and somebody is imprisoned or in pre-trial detention for 1 hour or 1 minute where the money is there, he never heard of for the 50 years, and he says it will not happen in the next 50 years. That's his statement, and I admire his courage. And what I see that more and more German attorneys and people who understand law come out and speak. So they come into the light and they stand up and they speak, because this is, I heard one voice today, I quote, this is not my thinking, I keep my thought in this regard to myself, but I heard one statement that this is the grandiose scandal, the largest scandal in German judiciary that ever happened. What happened today in court?
I've been reading some statements, Daisy, of even more vicious or comparative statements of where the German court system is right now. I'm speaking on Telegram as well as other platforms, what people are seeing. And it's not like Reiner's case is a local thing. This has gone global, because we have friends from the United Kingdom. I mean, they're going through some stressful times right now, from the United States, from Germany, I mean, literally we have an international audience on our platform. And even on our YouTube chats, we've been having, just yesterday, no, not yes, it was yesterday actually, we had Christine Anderson as our guest, and I have to thank Charles also, Charles and Stephen for that connection right there. And you know, so she's in the European Parliament, and people listen to her. People are following her. I mean, especially after our election, our general election in February, the FD, you know, they are looking at things like this also, and they're criticizing this. So this is not like a local thing, as I said. This is an international case that has gotten a certain amount of traction, but not enough to put pressure on the German judicial system, as well as in the German government, which does not exist right now. We're in a state of flux, because we don't have, it's neither fish or meat. So, but I think there is an opportunity that I see an opportunity where we can actually make a difference, make this more public. I said I will discuss this with you after this interview, and I think hearing that if certain things were not recording, this is dereliction of duty from a court of law, especially in Germany, and this is in a first world country. We're not talking about some African, Asian, and I know this, whatever. I mean, I'm not being racist here, or not, you know, pointing my finger at any specific nation, but there are countries out there that do not have a significant or a decent legal system, and this is not one of them. Germany should not be one of them. But what I'm reading is exactly pointing back even historically to what we have been through. And it does bear the question, how far is Germany willing to go down this road until the people literally stand up and say enough is enough? And this is happening all over the world. This is happening in France, in the United Kingdom, in the United States. And we're hearing civil war. And these are the small things. These are the small pinpricks that start this kind of discussion, because the people are not being heard. And our lawyers, our parliamentarians who will stand up for the people, are being ignored, and the people are fed up with it. And Reiner is one of these cases where it might just lead to, you know, a little one drop more. And it's not just us. I mean, you all, it's just not one person. You three here that I have as my guests this evening, we're all trying to do our part by speaking about this. And I tell everyone, never let anyone tell you that you're just one person, you can't make a difference. Reiner made a difference. Reiner made a hell of a difference. He was one person, and he got a team. They formed a coalition together. And now we're standing up as a team, as small as we are. We can grow, we can make a difference. We're not alone, we're not single people. We are 4 people here already sitting together and talking to an audience of well over 500,000 people. So we can't give up. We must not give up. We have to fight with everything we've got to stop this atrocity of legal system or even governmental system, because I do think this is a governmental, a legal, as well as a economical fight, a war, a lawfare, even from the economical side, Deutsche Bank, VW. I think even to a certain extent, I have to say this is the Biden administration, because Reiner was a lawyer in the United States. He was speaking out against what was happening. And the Medical Association in the United States, you know, I can think CDC, etc., they heard what was happening. They knew what was happening. We had Sugaret Bhakti speaking about this, and, you know, he was a thorn in a lot of people's sides. So it is up to us to fight for him now.
I think together for each other. I do think that we are now at the time that we realize that we are many. We are many.
Yes.
And,
Amen.
and we are many, and we are more and more coming into light, and we learn from each other, and we learn together. And I'd like to add here, Joseph, I met through Reiner's ICIC, and Joseph introduced me to Anna. And you see, we're all connected. And once we see that, then we see truth, because it is not the case that, as many people think, or they wish us to believe, that we are not many. We are many. We are many. And when we look at the good in people, well, it's statistically, I think 99 point how many percent it's good people, and only because it looks different, because it is shown and portrayed differently. I think now, right here, right now, today, in this very minute, we can all realize the good. And when we start focusing on the good and celebrate that and come together for the good for all, then I think we make something really good from the not good that Reiner is experiencing, and that Inca is experiencing. And
I'm hoping that I think that's so beautifully put, Daisy, and I'm hoping that all of this persecution of Reiner blows up in their faces, just like it did with Trump, and where he actually becomes stronger and more popular as a result. And I'm just hoping that he, you know, can have the strength to carry through, but that this turns into such a delicious victory for goodness as a result of all of their horrible abuse of Reiner, and abuse of the system and abuse of him. But I pray for that would be the outcome that happens, that they do they make a mistake because they're stupid and they're vindictive. They don't have love in their hearts. They don't have any warmth in their hearts. And so people seeing this should be outraged about how Reiner was treated, and see the callousness with which our government does not care about us. None of our governments do. Not the American government, not the German government. It's up to us, the people. And that's where we have to find our strength. And I agree with you on that so much.
Thank you. And I think what you say, Anna, that it is us, we are the many. And it's not the government, when I understand politics correctly, and I'm certainly not an expert in that, but don't they work for us on our behalf?
Well, that's what they told us.
Okay, so then I wonder, okay, so you work for me, then this is not good. So please do it good. As simple as that.
They used to work for us, Daisy. I think we're all aware of this now. Since quite a few decades, the government does not work for us. And in Germany, especially in Germany, because as you know, I am German, we have to hear that every time someone wants to stand up in our country to protect the people or speak on behalf of the people. We see the best example right now, AfD. All of a sudden you are right radical, you're Nazi, you're racist, you are a populist. It goes as far as to call us Reichsbürger, those who stand up and say we are the sovereign. And here in Switzerland, where I live, you can actually still feel that the people are the sovereign. They are the ones who control the country, who steer through their votes. And Germany needs to find that strength again. And the United States also, I have hope for the United States. I still have a very close connection to the country. And through the last election where Donald Trump was voted back in, it showed the American people, not only the government or the powers that be, it showed the rest of the American people, we still are the people, we still have a vote. And the electoral system does work. But the people have to understand that they hold the power. They have to get up, get out, and vote. And if you don't, then it's your own fault. You are complacent in what happens to your country.
I have an idea. It comes to me. If I hear you correctly, Sebastian, you say that you have 500,000 subscribers. That is a lot of people. Congratulations. Now, if each of I subscribe right now when we are completing this interview, I'm your new subscriber, and when each of us writes on X to either a post with hashtag free Reiner and add Elon Musk, when it's 500 million X messages or tags that Elon receives, then maybe he starts responding to letters that I wrote to him, and maybe others will start or will begin communicating based on the many letters that were sent on behalf for Reiner's freedom. We are many. We are many. I give an example. Yesterday or 2 days ago, I read that one of the musicians in Puerto Rico, he now signed a contract that for the next 4 years, he is doing concerts only in Puerto Rico. All flights are booked. All flights are booked. Hotels prices are increased. Puerto Rico is absolutely in a fantastic spotlight now. I very much like that island. I've been there. It's a lovely place. Now, when the Puerto Ricans can do that with one musician who has fans from around the world, and now people from around the world travel to Puerto Rico because they want to see him live in concert. This is creativity. I think that is where it shows that we are many. So maybe I can inspire everyone to write to Elon a message, because when he receives, I mean, I send him messages, but imagine he receives 100,000 messages, all saying the same. Wow, that will get his attention.
Absolutely, that is actually a fantastic idea. I think we should try that now. Let me. My co-commentator is just arriving.
Yes, the meow jesty.
So it is the Duran. It's not my platform. It is the Duran on locals, but still, we will get the message out. It will grow. Yes, I know, and she agrees with me. So definitely we will. I mean, we're going to start this, and I'm going to use my small platform, which is. I mean, if I have 18 subscribers on Rumble, I have a lot, but I do my stuff on for the Duran. Because I'm their moderator, I'm a team member, etc. So that's where that's where I live primarily, and I will be getting this message out. I can guarantee you, people have been asking me what new information do I have on Reiner for the past couple of weeks, and so this evening I even canceled a live stream because I wanted to interview you folks here, and I have to say thank you again very much. Any last thoughts before I wrap this up? Let's start off with Joseph this time. Any last thoughts?
Get the word out to the Alexes that the Alexes get engaged. They're great. I follow them also. I'm thrilled that you're on their team. Warm regards to them. They're first-class people, and more power to them.
Thank you. Anna.
I just want to express my gratitude, Sebastian, for your willingness to get this out and defend an outstanding man, a warrior of truth and justice and freedom. So thank you.
Daisy?
Thank you very much for your kind invitation. Yes, she's very photogenic with you. It's beautiful. Thank you very much for the invitation, and thank you for sharing this with your 500,000 people. 500,000 people. This is wonderful. And we are many. And please help for Reiner's freedom and support. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you, Anna, for your dear friendship. And thank you, Joseph, for your dear friendship. It means very, very much to me. Thank you. And thank you, Sebastian.
And I have to thank you again all for, I mean, this spontaneous meeting that we got together, and also Daisy for assisting me in my technological insufficiencies. You all mean a lot to me, because you are helping Reiner more than anyone else out there, or amongst a couple of few. And we have to work together. We will meet again, I am sure of this. Maybe we can even have an interview together with Inka and Reiner one day to speak of, of what we've done. But let's get him out first and foremost. Let's promote this. And with that, thank you very, very much, so much. As you can see, I'm a very faith-bound person. I'm not talking about her hair. I will pray for him. People who are politically imprisoned, I always pray for. This smells of Julian Assange, and he has to be freed also. He needs to get out. He needs to be able to fight for his freedom and fight for others, and we have to fight for him again now. So thank you so very much for your time, for your efforts, and I look forward to some good news the next time we meet. Well, take care.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.